Hello everybody. I wanted to go over some example questions from this review sheet. It is posted in Schoology and the key is posted in Schoology. So I'm going to go through a few examples here and then I'm going to ask you that if you feel like you need some extra practice, which most of you probably do, to go ahead and finish this and check the key in Schoology before you move on to the Schoology quiz in the folder. So here we go. Let's take a look at a question like number 2. In this case, we are given the hypotenuse and a leg. So the hypotenuse, remember, has to be the C in the Pythagorean theorem, and the legs are A and B. So to see what this missing side is here, I'm going to let 10 be A and 26 be C. So A is 10, C is 26. Let's plug in. So 10 squared plus B squared equals 26 squared. So from there, we need to use our calculator to figure out what this will be. So that's going to be 100 plus b squared equals 26 squared, which is 676. Now, to solve for b, I need to subtract 100 from both sides. So b squared equals 576. And then to cancel out a square, I need a square root. So I'm going to square root both sides to get b. And the square root of 576 is 24. So that means b is 24. Now, if I would have started with number 1, in this problem, 10 and 8 are the legs. They make up the right angle here, and you're trying to find the hypotenuse, which is your c. That's what you're trying to find in number 1. Notice the difference between number 1. Just be careful with how you plug in, is my caution for you. All right, let's do number 5 next. Actually, I'm going to do number 4. So the first step here to determine if these three sides of the triangle will make a right triangle is to determine your A, B, and C. Your C has to be your longest side. So this will be your C, it's the longest side. And A and B will be 8 and 12, doesn't matter which is which. So we would say 8 squared plus 12 squared equals 17 squared. And we're going to see if that's a true or false statement. So 64 is 8 squared. 12 squared is 144, and I want to see if that equals 17 squared, which is 289. Well, let's check. 64 plus 144 equals 208, which is not equal to 289, so it's not a right triangle. That would have to be a true statement for it to be a right triangle. I'll start off number 5 for you, and you'll finish it. Here it's a little less obvious what your A, B, and C are. You have to figure out what these are as decimals before you can be sure what the longest side is. The square root of 40 is 6.3. The square root of 41, and you do that by doing second x squared on your calculator to find the square root. The square root of 41 is 6.4, and then you have 9. So 9 is the longest side. I'm going to use 40 as my A and 41 as my B, the square root of those, and I'm going to plug in to see if this is going to be a right triangle. So if it is a right triangle, then the square root of 40 squared plus the square root of 41 squared would have to equal 9 squared. Notice how I plugged in the original square roots, not the decimals. I was just doing the decimals to determine the longest side, but I'm plugging in these sides to the formula. And it's a good thing I do, because when I square a square root, they cancel out. Remember that from the previous lesson. These cancel out. So the square root of 40 squared is 40. Squaring the square root of 41 is 41, and 9 squared is 81. 40 plus 41 is 81. 81 equals 81. That's a true statement. And so it is a right triangle. Well, I broke my promise a little bit there. I did the whole problem for you. Lucky you. You have to do number 6, though. I'm also going to leave number 7 if you want to try that one, and let's move on to the next page. Couple questions I want to do on this page. I'm going to do number 8 and number 10. So first, let's look at number 8. I need to plot these points first. 0, 5 is up here. So here's my x. Y is at -4, 0. So there's y. I need to find the length of that segment right there. To do that, I need to make a right triangle. I could make it right here, Or I could make it right here. Does not matter. It's the same right triangle. The dimensions of that right triangle will be the same. Regardless of how you do it, it's 4 by 5 or 4 by 5. Doesn't matter. It's the same right triangle. To find the right segment, I need to use the Pythagorean theorem. In these types of problems, your horizontals and verticals that you draw in there, those green and blue segments, those are the legs. So I'm going to calculate the red segment by doing 4 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. 16 plus 25 equals c squared. So that means 41 equals c squared. Is 41 a perfect square? It is not, so this will not be a nice integer answer. When we square root 41, we're going to get a decimal. And c is going to be, to the nearest tenth, 6.4 units long. 6.4 units long. Number 9 is a very similar question, same process, different numbers. Let's look at, I'll actually do number 11, and then I'll talk a little bit about number 10. I guess I'll talk a little bit about number 10 first. In this question, you're given this segment and this segment. Ask yourself, are those legs? Is one of them a hypotenuse? How do you know? Notice that those two red highlighted segments form the right angle. That should give away that those are the legs. And you're trying to find the slant height, which is this right here. The slant height goes along the side of the pyramid. You're solving for C in that problem. Quick hint on that one, this segment right here is 13. That's the whole segment. Does that mean that the base of that triangle is also 13? Is this whole segment right here the same as that? It sure isn't. The height hits at the midpoint of that base. So keep that in mind as you're figuring out what this segment is right here before you plug into the Pythagorean theorem. Let's take a little bit of a further look at number 11. Here, you're given the slant height is 7. You're given this segment right here is 9. All right, let's draw a triangle. We're not given the triangle here. We have to draw it in there. Okay, so there's a right angle there. We're trying to find the height. So that means we're trying to find this. I'm going to call it h for height. What is this segment right here? Is it 9? No, it's going to be half of 9. It's going to be 4.5. That's a leg. 7's the hypotenuse, and I'm solving for the other leg. So when I plug in to solve here, I'm going to say 4.5 squared plus h squared equals 7 squared. 4.5 squared is 20.25. Plus h squared equals 7 squared, which is 49. Subtract 20.25 from both sides. And h squared equals 28.75. I need to square root that to get h by itself. And if I square root both sides, I get h equals 5.4 if I round to the nearest tenth, and that's going to be feet. 5.4 feet. All right, so there I was solving for a leg, and I get 5.4 feet. These are great practice problems as you prepare for your quiz over this topic, which is in Schoology. Again, I encourage you to finish this, check the answer key on Schoology, schedule a conference if you have questions. Please, please, please take advantage of that opportunity. Hope to see many of you soon. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching.